2, 1. And we're back. So I had to redo this whole live because audio wasn't doing good on the last one, but that doesn't matter anyways. That's not why we're here. The whole point of why we're here is to answer your guys' questions. Now, even if you guys are not here on the live and watch this later on the replay, always feel free to ask the questions on the comments. And it's always better to ask me questions in the comments after the video than it is to an email. So you'll get a faster response that way, and it better gives me engagement for YouTube. That's what social media likes. So let's try to do that. But I was going on this last live before I had to start because the restart because the audio. Get in the live chat. Good to see you guys all in here, and I'm gonna get back to that for you guys. So let some of you guys roll in here, and yeah, hope you guys are all having a great week as well, or weekend, everything. Hope every day is good. Good to see you guys in the chat. But all right, still messed up. The audio, are you kidding me? The mic is still messed up? That doesn't make sense. I did test it before I got on here with the test video, which is really weird because it didn't do it on the video that I created. So why would it do it on the video YouTube created? Let me see if I can plug in a microphone. Hold on a second. Let me grab this. Because that's crazy. It definitely should be working. What the heck? Where are my microphones? I haven't used one in so long, I don't even know how to put them. Guys. Well, this isn't good. I don't understand what's going on here, because, where the heck are my mics? Well, alright, guys. I don't really know what to tell you. I definitely want to do this live. I definitely want to talk to you guys, and I definitely want to hang out. And I definitely did a test video before I got on here, cleaned my mic, all that stuff. Doesn't really make sense why the audio would be crackling. Mr. Matthew says it's not that bad, not that bad, still cracking. Sounds like it fell in one of those tanks. That's weird because I haven't put it in water recently or nothing. Literally just cleaned it off. It's kind of dumbfounding me right now that I do not know where my microphones are. Because I have a spot for everything. Now there's a chance I may have put them in a different spot, but I don't know. It doesn't seem likely. It's not crackling now. I'm not noticing any crackling. Okay, good. Thank God. Are we back now? Jeez. That's good to hear. Glad to hear it's getting better. Scott Spangler says, "What's up? Did you guys ship up north this week? Plants only." So, if you're on the northeast coast and in the Midwest, I couldn't ship to you guys because you guys are still like in single digits, and it's just hard to ship into that kind of weather. If it's just like freezing, close to freezing, that's not too bad. But when you start getting in single digits at night, it's so hard. Um, Scott, I don't know. You should have got an email confirmation if we did ship to you. We shipped most of our orders we've been sitting on. There was really just like maybe 5 that we weren't able to ship this week. So check your emails. And if not, I have been watching your guys' weather up there because I really just like to get that stuff out. And it does look like this week's going to be warmer and hopefully catch up with everybody. But thank you for your order, Scott. Really appreciate you, buddy. Definitely helps out. And gets to the whole point I was talking about before. Let me get this going again. But this is a tour video of the old house, which was a lot different than what we do now. I had filters in it, did a lot of water changes, all that stuff. Lots of aquariums. And so what I've been doing lately has been thinking about what I'm gonna do next. And since I'm not seeing any questions coming, this is what I'm gonna ramble on. Oh, I do see a question now. But I'm gonna ramble on about this for just a second with you guys because I feel like it's important because it is the future of what we're gonna do here. So I had two choices. I could just chill out, really fine tune this fish room, which I am gonna work on and need to do anyway. But it could be like the end of the road. Okay, this is my space. This is all I'm going to work with. Now, there's one problem, one major problem with that is there's never enough tanks. And there's so many fish that I would like to keep and breed, but it's hard to keep and breed a lot of fish in certain ways without just an absolute ton of tanks. And yes, this is a lot of tanks. For me, like this is my flow. This is my adaptability. I'm really used to it. And so saying that, I could just do this and or I could do what I'm really here for, and that's breeding more fish and conserving more fish too, because a certain section of what I want to do will be a conservatory for a certain type of fish. I think a lot of you guys probably figure it out, but there's certain keeper of said types of fish that if anything ever happened to him, it would be a big kick in the nuts for that type of fish. So saying that, I'm thinking, and it's funny how people say, "Oh, don't tell people what you're going to do, what your plan is, blah blah blah." I believe, especially with you guys, I got to tell you guys what I'm doing. I can't help it, and it's what helps manifest it to begin with. So the next big step would definitely cost me quite a bit, and it would put me in more of that. I really got to work for it. Like here, I could retire. I could just off of what grows out of my aquariums right now, since the house is paid for. I could just sit here, breed fish, pretty much retire, and be at that level. But if I want to scale up, I'm thinking 120 foot by 40-foot barn. 120-foot by 40-foot barn. Now it's only got to be 12 foot tall. That's tall enough for me. Um, but yeah, if I could, that I it, when we get to that next step, and I have been talking to people about it, general contractor, farm people who do that kind of stuff, and it's going to be a big step to do. And as far as when I create it, I'm going to automate a lot of it. So it'll be like more auto water changes. So I won't really have to maintain it. It'll be house of my fish, just house of my fish for me, which will make things easier. And then turn this whole fish room into a breeding area. How I really want it to be. Like there won't even be shrimp in here. It'll just be fish breeding galore. And then the other room would be like what's going out, what I'm keeping, babies, more babies, and just what I'm keeping. Because when it comes to keeping fish, like yes, I love breeding fish. I love it. I love keeping fish. There's like I can never keep enough. And I need to utilize that for the whole hobby, I believe. So for me to just settle down with this amount of tanks, which I thank God for all the time, I definitely feel like I can handle twice as much. So there is what's been on my mind. And I was thinking to be able to scale to the next level since it is such a jump and it won't be cheap at all. especially with how much tanks are now these days. I'm probably gonna go down south and pick up more fish for you guys. So it's hard for me to compete with what's on my website and breed enough variety to really pull more people and orders in to make it worth them buying and clicking all the time. So if I could expand my variety by other people who breed, I'm gonna be doing more of that. So hopefully that will help get things going. And I'm excited about it because I'm gonna be bringing in a lot more fish that I can keep as well. And so I did that this week. And I've that quarantine that you guys saw on Sunday's video is actually full now of stuff, which there is a few tanks that I still do have open for quarantine, which is sweet. But yeah, I'm excited about it. I can't wait to show it to you guys. Definitely going to give everything time to quarantine before I offer anything, but I will be excited to show you guys. And kind of what has inspired from it as I go through the process as well. Because it's something I haven't done in a long time. Long time, in like 10 years. Mr. Matthew, holy cow, thank you so much for the 2567, the 2567 super chat. Appreciate you, bro. As always, thank you. Says we are leaving the country for 3 weeks in October and don't have someone to feed my fish. Any ideas? I don't know if auto feeders go for 3 weeks. Will the ecosystem sustain the fish that long? I say go for what you're there for. Expand. Yeah, you only live once. I'm not getting younger, so definitely I feel like it would be like I feel like I would just be retiring or something if I don't. Which I got the whole backyard to expand with too. So this isn't something that's going to happen overnight. Matter of fact, I'm going to need your guys' help. And I was thinking about maybe putting a gauge to like where the goal is because I'm guessing it's probably going to be around 250,000 to get up, get going with tanks on and in at a conservative level. So don't tell ADLRB that. But I was thinking about maybe having a gauge that we can mark up and kind of keep track of it as we go. I think it would be amazing. And as far as leaving your fish unfed for 3 weeks, I've done it for a week tops. I've never done it for 2 weeks. So I don't know. I don't know. It's really tough to say because every tank is different as far as what's in the environment, what's in the ecosystem. But there has been people who really don't even feed their fish and have natural aquariums and the fish do all right. Now, if it's like way overstocked and there's not enough food in there, some fish may get hangry and might start taking it out on other fish. And because most of the time when it comes to fish and what they're eating in your aquarium, so when I'm gone for a week, they'll eat off all the other stuff that they normally won't eat off of because I'm feeding them the good stuff that they really want. So it's like, oh, do you want to eat the broccoli and the lettuce and all the other like nuts and fruit and stuff like that? Or do you want like the chili cheese dogs? Do you want the hamburgers? Do you want the pizza? So that often comes into the thinking of that with those ecosystems and them eating off of it. But I don't know. What about you guys? Have you guys ever left your fish for 3 weeks? I don't know if they it would be cool if they made a like fish feeder timer that just ran like maybe once every couple days. Because the problem with fish feeders is if they malfunction and they throw way too much fish food in there, especially too frequently, it becomes a problem. But say if that timer only fed like every 3 days, if it happened to accidentally overfeed, your fish would still have 3 days to clean it up. So it wouldn't be as bad. So I feel like maybe that should be something explored and worked on. I don't know if you can set timers like that. Do any of you guys use any of those automatic feeders that do set up like that? I used them back in the day, but it was more of like a daily thing that they did it. So I have no clue. So let me know, and I'll share it with everybody else. All right, let me scroll back to all these questions. So now the cat's out of the bag, and you guys know what I'm thinking now, what I want to do for the future here. Because it's easy to get comfortable, but honestly, the older I get, if I get too comfortable, which comfort is good, it's a balance thing. But at the same time, like your body is what's the saying? How's the saying go? Body in motion stays in motion, body in rest stays in rest. So if I'm resting more and just not as much action Jackson, then I'm gonna get older quicker, and I don't want that. Trying to stay young at heart here. All right, here we go. Big Willie the Wonka says, "Do you want some free Red Belly Mountain Days?" I go to a Pasco County group all the time. Moving to Washington and want them to go to someone who will try to breed them. Yeah, actually, usually I would say no, but definitely I would be on those for sure. And I shoot, I they probably do all right in one of those long ponds I got out there. I'm pretty sure those can handle the weather. But yeah, hit me up at the Pasco meeting. In Washington, that's a long way. Clear on the other side. Oh, so glad the audio is working. Maybe you just got to break it in. Yeah, I guess I had to warm YouTube's audio server or something weird. Especially since like I tried it, like there's no reason why it would start crackling and then not, you know? I didn't sit here and rub on the mic while you guys were here. I know the dirt or whatever didn't just drop out of it. They just like to mess with me, I guess. Too free of a spirit for them. Yeah, good to see you guys in here. Scrolling for those questions. Does water changing make fry grow quicker? Yes, Chef Steve, it does. It really does make a difference when it comes to growing fry. Starter barn, yeah, pretty much. Now that we got the starter barn going, we can work into the bigger barn. Because technically, that other barn would be 3 of these, but only two of that. 2/3 of that would be fish stuff, and 1/3 would actually be workshop work area. So that way I can organize all my stuff, crafts, tools into one area, and then have the rest be fish stuff. I figure an extra 80 by 40 of aquarium goods would be suffice. And that what I plan on doing between this barn and the barn would be the next step after that, which is just going to be cool. I didn't get all this land to just grow old and die. Ty Horton says, I'm wanting to set up some very natural, no filter botanical style aquarium with leaves and seed pods for killifish. Any thoughts on doing that? So when it comes to the botanical style and no filter, very natural setups for killifish, killifish couldn't ask for a better home than what you want to offer it. So killifish love those botanicals, seed pods, whatever you want to use for them. They love the tannins. They don't mind it at all. Actually makes their colors really pop. Feels real natural to them. And that no filter, just it's so peaceful for them. They can go about their business however they would in the wild. Because then often the waters that they're in are pretty stagnant. And as far as the approach, if you know how to set up the aquarium with your water as you have it, because let's face it, not all water is the same. Killifish do prefer a softer, more neutral water, although you can keep them in harder water. They just don't breed as well in harder water compared to neutral, softer water. And if you did still want to breed them, especially if you get substrate spawners, and even just ones that mop spawn, you can still add those into that sort of aquarium as well. And little fun fact, less negative things happen in soft water aquariums than they do in harder water aquariums because there's things that in the mineralization that a lot of the bad negative things, bacterias and such, will eat off of compared to soft water, who that doesn't really have that kind of as much of a food source for that sort of microbiology. That's why it's harder to transition a fish that has been used to soft water to hard water than a fish that has been in hard water to soft water. Hello, everybody coming in. Good to see y'all. Don't forget to hit that like button. Let's show YouTube that we're doing something here. We're live and kicking. Chef Steve says, any tips on breeding Bolivian rams? So when it comes to breeding Bolivian rams, just like a lot with the German rams, the little clay pot, terracotta pot, bottom side of it up, and then just feed them real good, feed them heavy, and then they will eventually breed on that. But you want to keep your water a bit warmer, closer to the 80s, and softer. And it's up to you whether you want the parents to try to breed them out or to remove the eggs and put them into another tank and grow them out that way. Which may take a couple tries. Usually with those rams, sometimes it takes multiple tries for them to really get it done right. And thank you, Aquarium Fantasy, for posting up the .com there, lrbrecourse.com, which I did finally update quite a bit of that stock there. So you guys were wondering and waiting for that update. Now that weather is getting better, that has been done. And of course, as always, free heat packs with all shipments. Trying to hold this here. Okay, there we go. Michigan Tropical says, sorry, just got in here. What's his plan? Oh, buddy, I can't go through all that yet. You'll have to go back and watch. But yeah, Lady already told you, newborn. But that's still a long way from now. Like, I'm talking about a future dream. Like, that ain't happening tomorrow at all because I still got to pay off money I used to build my last project. And I don't trust those feeders either. Power failure is my concern if we have to leave, but we run airlines. See, that's the beauty part about these kind of aquariums that I run in this fish room. Like you see an air bubble in there. Yeah, but these no filter ones that I have, and it's a big reason why I do this, is for the fact we've had hurricanes and we've had power go out for quite some time. But when the power goes out here in my aquariums, I don't have to worry about that because they really don't even, unless it was too cold. Now, with this cold snap that came through here, that could have been really problematic if we would have lost power through it. Which somebody asked me last Friday, what would I do, or if it would be much of an issue. Which maybe for a day it wouldn't be bad, but if it continued for longer than that, it could be real bad. And it got me thinking, and I would either have to get a generator, which is just way expensive. Yeah, one day, hope to get to that point. I have a generator for it all, but if you don't have the money for that and easy fix, I do got torpedo heaters with LP tanks that could work and substitute for that. Now, granted, well, I mean, this barn does breathe pretty well, so I'm gonna have to worry about gas buildup or none. That would be the only time a power failure would really mess with this fish room. Oh man, Kim, Carl Selke, moving 20 aquariums to a new place. Yeah, that's a mission. I'm trying to speed read a lot of this. Right? Scroll, scroll, scroll. If you got a question, always good to throw a question mark behind it. That way I know it's a question. Mr. Matthews says, based on your content, it is hard to imagine you slowing down and not having more projects to work on, right? Actually, that's what I enjoy the most too with the fish is not only the fish, but also the projects that go along with it. The building. Now, when we do the building of the next barn, I'm going to try not to do most of it because I want to spend my time with the fish and with you guys instead of having to worry about actually building the barn. Hence why it's going to cost me more too doing it that way. Will different species of rainbow fish crossbreed? Yes, they will crossbreed, and it's really looked down on hybridizing them because there's so many natural types of them. It's a shame when it gets diluted. And real rainbow fish will know better. I've seen mutant rainbow fish, and I'm not a fan. Granted, they could be different, but I'm not a fan of it at all. Yeah, see, I would rather have a power failure at 100 degrees than I would at negative under 30. Yeah, maybe we'll breed the mascara barbs this spring, summer. I still got to dig the other pond for it. But yeah, maybe get them out. See, now there's so many people breeding them, and I feel like they're in the market so much more now. Doesn't really motivate me to breed them. But I did build that other pond, and I want to build another pond to do the whole basket switch. That I feel like I could really produce them. Problem is pulling them out of the ponds. Like, yeah, you breed them in there. I need to put like a mesh in there or something, and maybe that would be easier to pull them out. Oh man, I've been having these like headaches so bad all day. Like even this whole last week. Which is weird. I don't hardly get headaches. Like it says, how long will it take to build the new barn? I think their turnaround was actually pretty quick. Um, I think it was just like 2 3 months or something for like to have it insulated and then walls and ceiling and stuff like that. And it's gonna be more designed specifically for like I'll put drains in the floor and everything. Um, as far as getting to the point of it, really depends on how much we do this year. Ideally, I don't want it to take longer than this year to get it started, so I could always pay through time. Um, but that's gonna be like an extra so much a month that I've gotta feel comfortable doing. So that plays a big role into it. I do have a lot of things bred out, which I'm excited to be sharing with you guys here. When it does warm up, I have been holding on to things like the Melanitaneus cernurgos. I got some Lucipennis catfish. What else I got? I got a few other things. But when it warms up, I'll be offering those, especially getting into the fish more. I'm gonna just try to snag more fish for you guys where I can. Um, as always, making sure it's good stock. But yeah, it's gonna take a bit, and definitely gonna need to slam out some videos this year. That's for sure to make it happen. Did Tampa snow? I don't think so. I don't think it got snow in Tampa. I know it got really cold though. Sonny G says, "What is in the green box in the tank behind you?" You asked. All right, nobody asked last Friday. So that's a breeding basket. There is the gold ring Daniels in there. One of my favorites originally was glow light Daniels in there. Pulled my gold rings out of the other tank, put them in there with the glow lights. All the glow light Chopre Daniels jumped out, and now only the gold rings are in there. And then the Chopre Daniels are in the other part of the tank with my shrimp. So I kind of got to reset all that. But this becomes one of those another reasons like I don't have, so I got fish in this tank, I've got shrimp in that tank, fish in that tank. Like I don't have another 40 right now that I could just, or a tank big enough to move that basket in to really breed those guys because just not enough big tanks in here. And so that's why I need another barn. Need more tanks. So I can do this stuff more properly. Those sorts of things happen. But I was trying to collab things because I am going to open actually some 40s here. They're waiting on certain things. Like I'm trying to breed these Chilonothernia sentiensis. Hopefully, it didn't get too cold and they actually do throw some fry. Because I know that's a rare rainbow that needs to be bred. Thank you for asking, Sonny, and wanting to talk about that. Michigan Tropical says, Lucas, do you have plans to wild collect down south off, say, Highway 41 in the Everglades? No, I don't really like pulling them out of the wild. I don't really. I don't like doing that so much. There is a fish down there, though. There is a fish, and it's a beautiful fish. It's really sad that it's not in the hobby, but the only reason why it's not in the hobby is I hear it's so sensitive. People just don't have luck with bringing it in. I can't remember the name of it. I'd have to ask Grant Eater. He knows what they are. He knows what I'm talking about. But one day, if I go back down there, I will be set up to bring those back properly. I feel like I could do it. I just feel like they just ain't treated as they should be through the transition and transport. Could be my own ego talking, but I feel like, oh man, if there was one fish I would collect, it would be this one, but I can't even remember the name of it. It's one that you guys never heard of, more than likely, because it's not a common name, but it is a beautiful kind of like small fish. Almost reminds me of a glass cat, but different. If only the garden eater was in the chat to help us. Let's see, maybe they heard us through telepathy or something. Room 5 Studios says, or we got to say their name 3 times. Room 5 Studio says, no filter question. Haven't run filters in quite a while in some tanks. Do you get a lot of biofilm on the surface of your water? Is it bad if you do? So biofilm's not bad. Usually high protein is in your water. You've got a concentration of that, and that's usually what the biofilm will feed off of. A lot of my tanks really don't have biofilm, but they'll go through their um, times where they will have, and then sometimes when they don't. It's usually when I'm feeding it a lot, they'll have more biofilm. than if I've been gone for a couple days or a day or just have skipped a day of feeding. But yeah, for the most part, there's not really a whole lot of biofilm in here, but it does happen. Sometimes it gets so thick in tanks that I mean it's a whole layer. But those are usually tanks I really kind of neglect. Then I will just throw guppies or endlers or rice fish at them, and they'll clean them right up. So certain fish will just clean that up. Oh yeah, you love the gold ring danios? Yeah, me too. They're one of my favorites. I'm a sucker for danios. Leopardo says, "Hello, Lucas. What is your opinion on scuds? Have a 10-gallon with them and some mystery snails. I hear they're good live food." So scuds are good. Definitely want to keep them in a tank of their own. The only thing is, if you're selling plants and stuff, I wouldn't recommend putting it in certain tanks, and just be mindful about that because not everybody's going to want scuds and they would hitchhike onto those plants. Big reason why I don't use scuds personally, but as far as like a food source for an ecosystem, they're really amazing. And also, I like to consider them like the aquarium hobbies horticulturalists. Like they'll go through, clean all like the dead debris of plants. Now, if you don't feed them enough and or over they overpopulate, they will eat the live food. But they usually tend to eat like algae and the dead decaying stuff way before they'll eat any of the live stuff. But with mystery snails, they'll be good together, and they are a good live food. Just make sure if you want them in a tank, you don't mind them being in that tank because if you don't, even if you think they all got eaten, trust me, there's one in a cracked crevice somewhere that will keep them in that tank until you pretty much restart it. But good to see you in here, Leopardo. And moneyless Maven Aquatic says, "What are you done money saving tips that are tried and true?" Honestly, if I would have just kept all my money in Dogecoin and didn't buy all these tanks, I would be a lot farther than I am. Oh my god! But hey, you win some, you lose some. Um, and you gotta live the life of, what you want to. I guess we all have our journeys for reasons. As far as money saving tips, the more of what you can braid for yourself will definitely save you money, and the more, especially if you're trying to put it into this aquarium hobby, um, don't be shy about trying to like go to clubs and sell stuff and go to auctions and talking to your fish store because there is a whole economy in itself within this hobby. Um, it's its own economy, pretty much. Now, if you're talking about money and just life, period, let's just say you got to spend it or have your money working for you. You got to learn to have your money making baby money, more money. Money doesn't do much just by sitting there. Like, yeah, I could probably get 4% in the bank, but if you could double it up on selling something, buying it for half, and or what you want to do with your time. That's the main thing. Forget it all. Like, what do you really want to do with your time? Because that's what's important. Time is definitely more than money. But as money saving tips, I don't use really any product. The only thing I'm really buying is my Tetracolor tropical granules for these no filter aquariums. That's pretty much it. And of course, the light. I gotta have the lights and the tanks, and build the stands. Let's see. Michigan Tropicals, thank you so much for the $10 super chat. Appreciate that support, buddy. Supporting your new barn dreams. You the man. You the man. Thank you. Thank you. Awesome of you. Other money saving tips that are tried and true. I mean, if you can create live food as well. And really, when it comes to breeding fish, like especially find those fish that need conserved and breed them. The way people always want them because there's just not enough of them in the market. That's the easiest way to multiply your money in this hobby, and or with plants and stuff. They're just multipliers. What do you think? I don't mind setting up more aquariums where they multiply. And, some may not multiply, but I enjoy them. And for those that do multiply, I enjoy that too. All works together. For me, it's just this is just what I do. So it all just runs into the same thing. Same old pot, more tanks. All right. Let's see. Popping in to say hi. Corey is speaking for our club, Uncle Joe's Fish Shed. And at the Fort Myers Club. They be clubbing. Got the Aquarium Co-op down there. That's big timing. We're having fun. Moat B says, have you ever made biofilm to feed shrimp? I've seen people using sugars, Bacter AE, and banana leaves. So yeah, people use that. Same with leaf litter. Does the same sort of thing. That would be about the most easiest way to create biofilm is putting in like natural botanicals. And like that Bacter A promotes a lot of that biofilm as well. I don't do it personally because, excuse me, naturally there's enough in there. Indoor fishing inside says I've spent more money to find out what I'm not going to use. LOL. Exactly. So that's a big reason why I do what I do as well is to teach you guys that hey, you do not have to throw all this money into an aquarium to do it successfully. Now, granted, everybody has to go through their journey in their own way because that's how you learn. Some of us learn the hard way, some of us learn by experience, some learn from others, and a combo of all the above. And so we're all different in those facets. And that's why I try to show the opportunity of hey, you could pretty much grab a tank and some lights and start from there. As long as you have somewhere to put it, you can get the dirt from your yard or a yard somewhere in a natural spot that doesn't get things sprayed on it that aren't good. There's lots of spaces like that everywhere. And then you spend your money on the fish and not so much on all the other stuff, bells and whistles that you think you need. Now, if you have chlorine, chloramine, you may need some dechlor. But beyond that, you can keep aquariums very cost effective. Your comment didn't get deleted, Sutton. I don't know what comment you're talking about. But I can definitely tell you it didn't get deleted, unless you hit the backspace, deleted it yourself. Mr. Matthew says, Lucas, is there any reason other than preference you use such unique floating plants instead of the more common ones? Others use like Salvania frogbit and red root floaters. Yeah, because those are common ones. And I guess I don't really like to do things as common as much as like most people. That and one other reason, like whenever you put your hand in the water with plants like that, they just stick to your arm. Like when you're trying to get fish, they're a pain in the butt to like really fish around. If I have like a group of like pearlweed or some floating plant like stem plants growing, it's a lot easier to kind of move that stuff and not it pull up and be all over my arm and cause a mess because when it does get pulled up, you want to make sure you place all those floaters back down normally or it can start funking up the tank and feeding algae and other sorts. If that's what you're really worried about, like from what I used to keep and how I used to keep aquariums, yes, that was definitely a worry. Not so much these days. But yeah, I guess because they're just like to do it uncommonly. And that brings me up to a video. If you guys haven't seen it, I do have a video called LRB Unusual Floaters, and there's like a ton of different plants that you wouldn't think about being aquarium floating plants, but there are. So it's your more uncommon floating plants. Did that video a long time ago. Best Aquatic says, do the mascara barbs eat plants? I know the filament barbs are terrible with plants, but some sources say mascara's not as bad. They definitely eat plants for sure. I would just chuck in guppy grass like it was hay for them all the time. But you could always keep more. Like this tank right here is where my mascara barbs is, but look how much plant growth in there. I think there's like three different kind of plants growing in that mass, which is like its own marsh in itself. Okay, let's see. Right now, only 2,500 more people. Get them donations out. We'll be working on things. We'll be working on things, and I just got to bring more and offer you guys more. Got to bring the value. Bring home the bacon. Beehives are lucrative with land. You know, I just couldn't do that. Mm-mm. I wouldn't want all them bees. Mm-mm. I know they don't really mess with you and stuff, and I see people mess with them, but oof, I couldn't do it. I'll stick to my fish. Chef Steve, we do have a lot of. I see them around where people do move beehives and stuff around here, so it's good for the ecosystem. We keep things real natural in our yard too, just so they would have things like that. What's your best money making plant and fish, Chef Steve? I would say probably pearlweed. If I could keep algae of my moss anytime all day, moss is good. I guess guppy grass does pretty all right, but pearlweed's probably my most. But at the same time, nobody really grows pearlweed like me, so it could make a difference. And as far as fish, I'll probably have to say the trout goodies right now. And that all kind of changes too, depending on what it is, when it is. I mean, sometimes like endlers and guppies, they can be just good enough. Be something more consistent. I'd say my top seller last year was the trout goodies. Because I know a bucket. I know a bucket. What's angelfish in it? Was an airstone. What do you think my max timing is to get the tank set up again? So Kim, honestly, it's actually better for you not to run the airstone in with the angelfish. You're better off keeping them. I know it sounds crazy, but you'd probably be better off without the airstone in the bucket. So what happens? Hopefully, it's aquarium water to begin with, so it can handle their waste first, and not like fresh, new kind of just water changed and put it in a bucket kind of water. Some nice, mature, seasoned water. Because what happens with that airstone being in that bucket is when those fish waste a lot and create that ammonia and urea, and then the oxygen and hydrogen and all those gases start hitting it, it can gas and cause issues. I've got this short and video talking about this, kind of how I did with my Oscar. improving. And I see people jumping out of my live stream just from me talking about this like this because it goes against what a lot of people say to do. You definitely got like a day. I don't know how long in that bucket. With the airline, I would feel more comfortable with 3 days without the airline than I would 3 days with the airline. Because when you start moving that ammonia around and that gasation starts causing issues and it starts running through their gills and stuff like that, the microbiology especially doesn't settle as well. And if you are going to use a air stone, use it very, very slightly. If you use it to where it's just pumping a lot of air in there, that's going to cause more problems quicker than if that airline is just slightly throwing air bubbles in there. But those angelfish would be fine in there without air filter airline. Matter of fact, for those that are hopping, I guess they're already out of my life, but there's angelfish, no filter. Keep them all the time, no filter. I like how it let me zoom there. Usually I don't get that lucky. I didn't think it did that usually. Probably kind of like my audio earlier in the live stream. It wants to work when it wants to and doesn't when it doesn't. But yeah, honestly, that's my experience and what I've learned. Here's a money saving tip: grow Daphnia. They're so easy and have way too many. It is 90% of my fish food. Buy them from Carolina Supply and you will start with clean parasite free stock. Well, Daphnia is definitely a good food source if you can keep them going. Sometimes the biggest pain is keeping them going. I run Daphnia in here. It is a great food source. I use goldfish tanks up above my Daphnia tanks, and they create a lot of grain water for me. So I can just drain my green water down into my Daphnia. That's how I keep mine cycled and going. Can feed them like yeast and spirulina and stuff too. But that doesn't really produce as well as green water would. But yeah, definitely for sure a money saver there. GB. Indoor fishing inside, you are welcome for those 10 pearl weeds. Glad they're doing good in your tank. Thank you for the order. Lady LRB's like totally interested in bees. Well, if you want to do it, be my guest. But that ain't a me thing. Don't expect me to do it for you. Leopardo says, Lucas, what is a good plant to put in a sump to help with nitrates? I would say moss, guppy grass. Any of those like faster growing plants, pearlweed would be a good one. You could do stems. You could do a multitude of them. To me, a sump is nothing but an extra tank. Literally, just nothing but an extra tank. Set it up as such. Chef Steve says, "Is there a fish you regret buying?" Oh, there was the one that I regretted the most through my whole experience buying was the Chinese algae eater. He was an absolute butthead. He would really keep the tank clean though. Great cleaner upper. But he was an absolute butthead, and trying to get him out of the tank was a mission. Because they are really smart. And if you're after them, they know it. Forget about it. If they got somewhere to hide, you're going to have to tear the tank down just to get them. Besides that, I mean, that's really the only one. Like, I really regretted, like, why did I even buy those? I mean, often I'll buy fish where, okay, maybe I shouldn't have bought it, like my Oscar and stuff like that. Which I love them. The Oscar's cool, so I don't like regret buying them at all. Does it really help my fish business? Maybe not so much, because he does take a bit of space. But hey, you got to keep things you love too. It can't just be all business. I can enjoy it. So I have been more hobbyist driven forever on here as a YouTuber. But if I really want to scale, I do got to get more business oriented, period. Especially if I want to conserve and offer more for you guys, bring more value. Janice Lumberg the second. Thank you for becoming a member again for 60 months. She's on a roll with it. She remembers way back when here. Mr. Matthew says, if you're doing a lot of floating plants, do you avoid heavy stems planted below? No, not really. It depends on the lighting. Will depend on how well those stem plants really do. So the stem plants will either take or they won't, all depending on that lighting with a filtered light. Some plants don't mind it. Some really harder, more specific aquascape kind of plants like the white lymphonophilias and stuff like that, or Luigias that are a bit harder to keep, especially without CO2. But there's a lot of layering you can really do with aquarium plants. Um, Often, a lot of them can do really well in shade for a long time. So it's just like with garden plants. Some plants are more shaded plants, some plants are more like bright sunlight plants. So it really depends on how you do it. And pretty much a lot of the plants that I offer are a lot of those shaded type of plants that don't take a whole lot of light. Mario's Corners Aquatic says, "What's up, Lucas? What's up, dude?" Says, "Hey, do you ever deal with the condensation on tanks? I have a shed with about 15 tanks, and my unheated tanks get it a lot. Should I be worried?" So the time that condensation, I don't have it happen much here because I'm in Florida, but when condensation does happen on the outside of the tank is usually when the tanks become colder and then the air becomes hotter outside. And then that's when you'll get that condensation is when those tanks are trying to warm back up. So really to battle that or fight that is to either keep those tanks at a consistent temperature and or that room at a consistent temperature, because if the room's at a consistent temperature you won't have that flux of difference within the tanks because it all kinds of works together as a thermal cell. So if I'm keeping it 74 here with the air and it always stays like that, then thermally these tanks stay at 74. But if I would turn off the air and say let it get 80 in here and then decide I want it to be cooler, I want to be back to 76 in here, those tanks are going to start releasing or going to start sucking up more of that cold air, releasing more of that hot air to where it finally gets to that point. Now, I don't really get much condensation when that happens, but say if I let the temperature get down to 68 for some reason, and let the tanks get to that and then decide to go to 76 degrees, then as the cold comes out and the heat goes in, it creates more of that moisture and condensation on the glass. So that would be the way around it. Is you just got to heat the area and the tanks and just not let them get cold, colder than the room. Lady LRB remembers the Chinese algae eater. That one was regretted. Even though he was cool for a long time, but I don't know. He really pissed me off to the point that I had been talking so bad about Chinese algae eaters, which I hardly talk bad about anything. Tom TKK says, I'm about to get my first large tank, 450 liter, 120 gallon. Awesome. Congrats, Tom. Says, after only ever owning small tanks, what's some tips, issues that I may run into that are unique to larger aquariums? So Definitely will help enable your MTS when you get into the bigger tanks, because you're gonna be like, my lord, I got all this stuff for all these fish and all these things to do. Like, it's more space for activities. And you're gonna realize that it's a lot easier to keep than your smaller tanks. So there's a lot more forgiveness with those bigger tanks. Just make sure, biggest tip, quarantine your fish in a smaller tank before you decide to be like, oh, well, I'll just put them in the big tank first. Because it's going to cost you so much more to medicate that big tank than it would your smaller tanks. So that would be the big thing to think about when it comes to those. Besides that, like, so many other pros you're going to have fun with. Like, I absolutely love big tanks. If I had more space, so actually in the next barn there will be no tanks smaller than a 20, and hopefully lots of 40s and 75s and 125s. A couple custom made ponds maybe. Indoor Fishing Insight says, "What's up with Taiwan's finest lily? Plan on bringing it back to market anytime soon? Email me. I got a couple I could send you. We can work out a deal. They really don't ship as well during the cold, so maybe want to wait till it warms up a bit. I mean, they still ship fine. They're doing good. I just don't have a mass of them because they kind of got taken over and like biomassed out to the point that they ended up getting taken over by algae. And when it comes to saving them, the bladder snails started getting to them real heavy, and I pretty much had to reset their tank. Chef Steve says, "Do you talk to your fish?" I mean, sometimes, a little bit, once in a while. Who else am I going to talk to? Indoor Fishing Inside says, "Or do your fish talk to you?" Ooh, both. Trick question. Both. So G says, "My fish talk to me. I hear their voices. Can become one with the fish." Do, 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 do. Oh, and if you guys missed it, we did do a live tour last week, last Sunday, of the house. Quarantine for all you guys who were wanting to watch that if you didn't know it was out, because I know YouTube's not always the best at putting those notifications out. Chinese algae eaters ate some of my Uruguay cichlids. Yeah, dude, they can be aggressive. They can be mean. They're real. They really are buttheads. Hey LRB, what kind of fish would you put in a 120-gallon? Trying to get ideas. Oh my god, what kind of fish wouldn't I put in 120 gallons? It's more of a proper question. So I'm the kind of person, especially if it was like my only 120 and it was just like something to watch. Like, I'm putting this, that, and everything in there. I'm putting tetras in there. I'm putting rainbow fish in there. Putting rasboras in there. I'm putting cory cats in there. It's just going to be a vibe community that you just look at, and then there's just something here, there, and everywhere. It would be like my 180-gallon bow front that I used to have. But when it comes to keeping aquarium fish, it really is down to the keeper. Maybe you want to see some African cichlids in there. You know, maybe you just want to see some axolotls in there. There's so many ways to do it. That's what's so cool about this hobby, and why I have never got burned out of this hobby. I've been through so many hobbies in my life, trophies on multiple hobbies where I did real good with them. Like, I could have done that and let that be my thing. But this is the one hobby that I've never got bored with and never felt like it was just too easy and just like There's always something here in this hobby for even me who's been doing it for so long. So I think that's what really grabs me with this hobby. And when it comes to keeping your fish, like it really comes down to what you really want out of it. And the best way to figure that out is just stroll those fish stores, stroll those different fish types, and some will pop up. You'll be like, oh, yeah, that's it. Janice Slumberg asks, with natural tanks, how often do you do water changes? So I don't do water changes that often. I definitely could, and if I was on a better regimen, as far as doing like a 25% weekly water change, it would be better for my plants and stuff. But for the most part, I go sometimes months without water change. So like during the winter now, I don't have heat in here as far as the water. So I do have a water heater. I just don't have it running properly. Like I never really set it up. I think it needs to be reset. I just haven't done that yet, and I really need to do it. But even still, it's not connected to my water line, so it wouldn't really matter that much, anyways. It just matters with me washing my hands. But saying that, I don't really do water changes during the wintertime because of just that cold water. Now, I can run my water out of my well long enough that here in Florida, the groundwater actually stays fairly warm. So if I did have to do emergency water change, then I could do that way. But it all depends on like what I'm doing with my life and trying to do with building a business and everything else. So that's the good thing about keeping these natural tanks is it gives you that flexibility between um, like the proper care of the fish. So it doesn't hurt the fish if you're not doing the water changes with these natural aquariums. As a matter of fact, it allows the aquariums to age more on their microbiology level, especially with no filter, that it just becomes more natural. But it does help to do water changes for your plants and to grow out baby fish and stuff. It does help trigger some breeding as well, doing water changes. Mario's Corners Aquatic says, are you still breeding the G Max? The group I got from you is coloring up real nice. So I do actually have, see, in this tank, some younger ones. Oh, did I not even have that on? I don't know. Anyways, and then this one, I'm hoping to get more babies out. I just moved the breeding group over there. But I think the shrimp are eating up the eggs. So I still have not seen any babies, which I don't know why. But like the ones I got, they're still so small. Itty bitty guys. I need to focus more on breeding them. Which I plan on doing a lot of that. Like we're gonna breed the heck out of stuff this summer. Especially with the thing out back that I just built. But then again, I've got to have places to house all of what I breed too. Therein lies where I need another barn to do so. Mr. Matthews says, are you ever going to sell any of those goldfish? You have some nice ones. So the goldfish, I don't know. I've never shipped a goldfish. So I don't feel real comfortable shipping them. That's the only issue. So I'd hate to ship one and kill it. Maybe if I focus on breeding a bunch, I will. But if I do, I'll have to ship them fairly small. All right. Zach's trolling? Did I miss a troll? Get over here. Is it possible to run tanks without a filter? Oh, it's impossible to run tanks without a filter. Yeah, he's definitely trying to troll. Ha ha ha. Funny guy, huh? Wise guy, eh? Yeah, buddy. It is impossible. Don't do what I do. Fish Stream says, Lucas, will you put in a large display community tank in the future? So, I mean, I kind of got, I mean, it's a 75. It's a community display, sort of. The pond was for a while. So I do plan on having when I get the other barn, it's definitely gonna have some 125s, and then I want to do these custom ponds that will be like community displays as well. So definitely here in the future, long future from here, because we got a long way to go to get to that point. But yeah, definitely for sure. Faux show. All right, looks like I'm at the bottom of the chat, and we are well over the hour mark. Just have me chatting it up. All right, I guess no other questions. If you guys do have questions, as always, put them at the end or at the comment section down below, and I can get to them that way. It works a lot better than email or on my website because YouTube's more linked up and it's better for my engagement. But let's hit the like button before we hop off here. I would appreciate it. It would definitely help. And I thank you guys for joining me and asking my questions and helping the time go by smooth. But I'm going to have to pull it off like a band aid. Hope you guys all have a great one, and I will see you guys on the next one. Peace. Oh, whoa, what's that? Janice. You're a doll. Thank you so much, Janice. Thank you. For the like. Or for the barn. Thank you, Janice. Much love. Peace.